What is going on, sports card fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we're here with a video on the PSA bubble that is just currently and has been happening for a while in the hobby. Personally, it's one that I look at and I sort of understand it, but at the same time, I don't really. So it's something I definitely wanted to make a video on, just kind of get your guys' thoughts and share mine as well in terms of what I'm looking at. PSA has been a staple of the hobby for a while, but the last few years they've just kind of been basically accepted as the grading standard for the hobby by a large chunk of the hobby's populace. And I do think that they do the best in terms of providing value for your card, having the pop reports so easy to look up, being able to look up cert numbers, navigate the website so easily, the grading process being relatively smooth, obviously the big backlogs, but besides that, I feel like most of what they offer to the consumer is just to get more out of the grade rather than just the grade itself. And there is something to be said about that. However, if I'm just buying cards for me, if I'm just buying cards that I want to have or that I like, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like BGS and some of these other grading companies can be trusted almost as much as PSA as far as their grades are concerned. Now, will their labels look the best? Will they have the best security on their cards? Will they have the best pop report? They probably won't have other aspects of that. However, the current premium that people are paying for PSA stuff is just out of this world to me. So I'm gonna go and talk about it and kind of break down what I'm seeing. So this is a card that, obviously really high price, but just an example of what's going on at even a higher scale. This is, I feel like, pretty universal throughout the hobby, but just taking a look, so we'll take a peek at this Messi 71 Mega Cracks, his truest of true rookies, and in a great grade here, we got a 9.5. So looking at the graph down here, you'll see a massive boom. Essentially, this card went from being, 2, 3, 5, 6,000 at the peak, so between 2 and 6,000 to being worth 60,000. Just an absurd climb, as you can see, all the way up to 100,000 at the peak. Keep in mind, these are BGS, so I mean, you can have some variance in terms of sale price based on subgrades. I feel like that might be another reason people don't like it, is because they don't get a good gauge of the market. But in reality, I'd rather have a good gauge of the card, not a good gauge of the market. I want to know what my card is all about. So here we see that, they started falling a little bit, but the last one to sell went for 61K. So if we take that and then move on over to the PSA 10, we'll take a look here. The last one sold more recent than the other BGS 9.5, and that PSA 10 sold for 344K, 5 to 6x what the BGS 9.5 went for. And it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, not only in this case, but in most other cases, because if we go back and look at the other prices, you can see that the Messi rookie in a PSA 10 for a while was worth 1 to 2,000, then was worth 5,000 at its peak, then 8, then 10, then 8, and just kind of, it started to gain steam in terms of the PSA price. And so essentially, a while ago, it was a $2,000 to $6,000 card. And if we look here at the BGS 9.5, I mean, for a bit there, if you look back, it's a $2,000 to $6,000 card. Now, during the 2008, 2019, it did not keep up the price that the PSA did, but as we can tell, back there for a decent amount of time, about 4 or 5 years, BGS was essentially viewed almost the same way as PSA in terms of just how valuable this card is. And you might say, well, the PSA pop is so much lower, and sure, you can say that, but I think it's lower because, people have only started to really accept and embrace PSA and want to send all their cards there within the last few years, because now they see how much it's going to play a role probably going forward. And personally, I understand it, but at the same time, BGS probably has a higher pop because, of course, it is a 9.5. It's not a pristine 10, so you get some kind of lesser grades that might float in there. But also, I think they've just been doing it for a longer time, and this card has been worth getting graded in these high forms for a good bit, as we can tell by these prices. So again, looking back, obviously PSA hasn't established itself to the point at which it had today, but there from the 2013 to about 2017 period, the prices for BGS and PSA Messi's, I mean, you could say they're similar, or I mean, at least you could say they're relatively close. The most it ever gets is that the PSA would maybe 2x, maybe even 3x. But now when we look in the modern time, I mean, this is doing 4 or 5. In some instances, the PSA 10 will do 5 to 10x what the BGS 9.5 does, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. Because, again, buy the card, not the grade. Obviously, I love PSA. I think that what they're doing with grading is great. But at the end of the day, if I also trust BGS and I like their cards and they're insanely underrated, then I'm going to buy them. So we can debate, graphs, go back and forth. I think I've proven that enough. But another reason I think, us as a market, we kind of tell ourselves that PSA is overvalued is because whenever someone, you talk to people and ask, where are you going to send in cards? Until the recent backlog where there was just too many cards and PSA had to shut down and all that. I mean, the reason they shut down is because everyone sent their cards there. And why did everyone send their cards there? Because they felt like that gave them the best bang for their buck, which means they feel like the prices are overrated, they're overinflated, they shouldn't be that high, and that's why they're sending their cards there. So the market is telling you PSA prices are overvalued, and everyone just kind of is like, oh, okay, but PSA is still the thing to go, so I'll buy it. Like, no, do not buy it. I mean, you can do what you want, find deals, have fun, do whatever you like. Personally, since I've been in the hobby, I've been very, very reluctant on buying PSA 10s. I would just rather go out and grab 3 to 5 raw cards, maybe 3 to 10 raw cards, depending on era and kind of where it's at, or just go out and grab a BGS 9.5 slab for, a tenth to, a half of the price, a quarter of the price. Like, it makes no sense. So I'm all about BGS, especially when the market's just telling me that PSA prices are overvalued. And then a final couple touching points, the first being that BGS did have sort of a scandal with a fake slab in the past, but I feel like that's something that all companies are going to have to deal with. PSA does do the best job at deterring that, so I will say on their end, I mean, that's great. I do think that that's really good. However, as a buyer, I feel like, as long as you do your research, you kind of know what's going on in terms of what to look for on slabs and also what to look for on cards, and I don't think you're going to get scammed. I think as long as you know what you're doing, and the ratios of scammers out there's got to be really low in terms of fake slabs. So I don't see it being that big of an issue. I can understand people being a little less reluctant, but the price swings that we've seen in BGS versus PSA makes no sense. And finally, there are a ton of PSA slabs to come back, I mean, there's a reason they closed down. There's far too many slabs. So there's going to be a lot pumped back into the market. And as soon as they open back up, a lot of people are going to pump their cards there. So I feel like the supply of PSA cards coming out of the market will just get higher and higher. Now, can the market sustain that and keep buying those? We'll see. But it's just something to think about. So that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Any thoughts you have on PSA, BGS. I know I didn't talk about the other grading companies, but I mean, I feel like they're kind of just a step down from BGS, but also in the same realm where, for the most part, I would say I'd rather buy that than pay the ample premium for a PSA 10. Would love to hear your thoughts on the grading companies down below in a comment. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as they go live, make sure to subscribe. And with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day and peace.